Hi and welcome to the video training of JavaScript. In this video training we will be looking at an elegant way of using conditional statements instead of using if else and switch in JavaScript. We will be using object literals. So writing complex conditionals in JavaScript has always had the potential to write some pretty messy code. Long lists of if else statements or switch cases can get bloated quickly. So when there are multiple conditions, I found object literals to be the most readable way of structuring code. Let's have a look at how they work. So let's look at the first example, which comprises of if else statements. So let's say we have a function that takes a rhyming slang phrase and returns the meaning. So using if else statements, it would look like this. Function get translation, it receives a rhyme, a variable, and it converts it into lowercase and then compare it with apples and pears, hamstered health, loaf of bread, pork pies, whistle and flute, etc. and returns the results as follows. So if I have this function here, I'm just going to call get translation and I'm going to pass in apples and pears and save this file, and I'm going to run this file here and personal projects JavaScript and run it in the browser. So here if I go to console, just a minute, okay, we have to alert it as well, obviously, otherwise we won't be able to see the result. So we have stairs and stairs are here, right? So this is one way of using conditional statements using if else. Now let's move on to second example, which comprises of switch case statements. I'm going to uncomment this and okay, so this isn't great. Not only it is not readable, but we are also repeating two lowercase for every statement. We could avoid this repetition by assigning the lowercase rhyme to a variable at the start of the function, or alternatively use a switch statement, which would look like this. So get translation receives a rhyme, so switch rhyme dot lowercase to lowercase and then compare apple and pears, hamstered head, loaf of bread, etc., etc. So I have this function here with switch case and I'm going to use it again, our alert statement, and this time I'm going to call hamstered heat, okay, and let's run it in the browser, and this time I got rhyme not found because I might have misspelled that. Yeah, there's a E here, so now it should be fine. So we have teeth, right? So this is working as well. We are now only calling two lowercase ones, but this doesn't feel that readable. Switch statements can also be prone to errors. In this case, we are just returning a value, but when you have more complex functionality, it can be easy to miss a break statement and introduce bugs. And alternatively, you can use an object to achieve the same functionality as above in a much neater way. Let's have a look at an example. Get translation map receives a rhyme again, so I'm going to comment this, copy this, and here we have get translation map, and I'm going to call get translation map and pass in the hamstered heath. Save this file, run it in the browser. I have the same result, but as you can see here, we have a much neater conditional logic instead of using if-else statements and switch case statements, and at the end we are converting into lowercase or returning rhyme not found. So we have an object where the keys are the conditions and the values are the responses. Then we can use the square bracket notation to select the correct value of the object from the rhyme passed in. The final part of line 10, rhyme not found, uses nullish coalescence to assign a default response. This means that if rhyme.lowercase is null or undefined but not false or 0, then the default string rhyme not found is returned. This is important because we might legitimately want to return false or 0 from our conditional. For example, function string to bool, it receives a string either true or false. So I'm going to comment this function here and this function call, and here we have string to bool function, and if I pass in string to bool, I'm going to pass a string true, and let's run it in the browser. It returns true, and on false it returns false, and if I pass in false 1, it should return string is not a boolean value. So that's a much cleaner approach rather than if else and switch statements. Now let's look at some complex functionality of calculating two different numbers in a function. So this is very contrived example, but hopefully it illustrates how nullish consonants can help avoid introducing bugs. There are times when you might need to do some more complex logic inside your conditions. To achieve this, you can pass a function as the value to your object keys and execute the response. So we have function calculate number1, number2 and action. So const actions is an array, and then we have const actions is an object. Then we have add as a key which receives two parameters a and b and returns a plus b. Then we have subtract, receives ab, returns a minus b. Multiply returns a multiply b, and divide returns a divided by b. And at the end we are returning actions, passing in the action parameter and returning number1, number2, and or either calculation is not recognized. So here I'm going to call the function calculate and pass in number1 as a 5 and number2 as 20, and action I'm going to pass in add. And let's run this function in the browser. 25. So this is a very cleaner approach instead of using if else and switch statements. Thanks for watching this video. Please do subscribe to my channel if you liked this video. You can reach me if you need any assistance. I'll be more than happy to reply back. Thank you very much.